Welcome to Saturday's Warrior for a special March Madness edition of our Saturday's Night Live as we look back and celebrate BYU's first tournament win since 2011. And this is huge. It's such a relief. BYU came out. It looked like they were going to have another slow start, and VCU really dictated the pace. Not only, from the get-go, they got right up on Yegor Demon, made him uncomfortable, something we all saw coming. And then they started jacking up threes. They were even hitting them at a good clip. And to start the game, you're a little bit worried. Okay, BYU, if you're going to let VCU hit threes like that, it is going to be a long night. But lo and behold, getting to the end of the first half, even with VCU dictating much of the style of play and the pace in that first half, BYU still ends it up 11. And that really made me feel good going into the second half, thinking, okay, BYU generally goes on a bit of a tear, heats up offensively in that second half. And sure enough, they did. Now, it felt like they could have kept piling on and they never really truly pulled away. And it felt like BYU over the course of the season had figured out how to do that, not let teams back in, much like they did last year. But credit to this VCU team because they were very good. They'd scouted BYU really well. They knew, you could tell they understood what BYU wanted to do offensively, how to make them uncomfortable, but also what BYU was doing defensively. And they were able to get off a lot of good looks, thus all the three-pointers. So credit to them and for not giving up and making the game more interesting and a little bit more uncomfortable than I think we all would have liked there near the end. Would have loved for BYU just to have pulled away, but it's March and two pretty well-matched teams win at it, and BYU ultimately won the day. And fortunately, getting that first round kind of, getting that out of the way, that win, breaking the mold there. And as we see here from Cameron Hoff, he says the curse has been broken. Yeah, exactly. They finally broke that curse. If you buy into that, but whatever it was, oh, I that's a from somewhere playing on my screen. Sorry about that. Live TV, folks. What a big win. I think we all felt pretty good about BYU going into this game with the matchup. We know that VCU is good defensively, but BYU's gone up against very good defensive teams all season. And here, definitely during that last stretch outside of Houston, was able to figure out ways to get around it and still put up a lot of points. And sure enough, BYU still got to 80. It wasn't their 90 plus that they have been, but things tend to slow down a little bit in March, and as things get a little bit maybe called differently, but as teams scout out a little bit more and have each other's number a little bit. So anyway, I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Who is the player of the game? Because we had some pretty good games from several players. It was a little bit, in some ways, kind of what we expected, but in other ways, not as much, because I had thought that they might use Boscovich a lot to try to make, I don't like that look, to try to take advantage of the bigs and put some pressure on them and spread the floor. But he did not play at all. So I don't know. I'm sure that was schematically in the plan for this team. And it seemed to have worked because Keita and Fus Traore certainly had things figured out and locked down. But then Demon, the way he was shooting the three, the way he was, they put some pressure on him, but ultimately he only had 4 turnovers. And with the ball in his hand as much as he has, and against a really a good defensive team that's good at causing the turnover, I'd say that's actually a pretty good step forward for him. Only 12 turnovers as a team overall. So pretty good for considering we expected BYU to have some trouble in that area. So, but yeah, Demon hitting some clutch threes there. How many assists? Only 2 assists, but definitely involved with keeping that offense moving along. Richie Saunders, 16 points, 16 quiet points. It feels like he certainly had, early in the game when BYU was struggling a little bit, he went in there and got it done, and he had his moments throughout, but it was a quiet game. But I think what our bigs did personally, Keba Keita and Foose were the players of the game. And if I had to go with either one, I don't know. I mean, both of them, but is that right? Foose had 23 assists. That's not, there's no, I think that's a typo there. So it's probably 2 or 3. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked what both of them brought to the table here. But let's see what you guys say. Elijah Foster says, "Who didn't play? Everyone played. No, Boscovich didn't play. Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. Other than that, everyone else played. Even Cannon Catchings, we had a Cannon sighting, which was really good to see him out there. They pulled him kind of quickly, but I liked what he did. He was hustling and he got in the mix a little bit, at least from the players I see here. Yeah. Yeah. So everyone on here played. Only, yeah, as I was saying, Boscovich. But and then Patricia Cad says, "How about them Cougars?" So, sorry, I kind of stumbled over the word Cougars there. Yeah, yeah. How about them Cougars? What a good game. It was fun. It was exciting. It was well matched, and ultimately BYU pulled out ahead. And so, what a win! And again, we're moving on to the first or beyond the first round and getting a win because we even played in that play-in game for the first time since 2011. So feeling pretty good about that at this point. My question for everyone is, who was your player of the game? And then also, has BYU now achieved everything that you hoped they would coming into this year? Like, do you feel like at this point, no matter what happens going forward, that this year has been a success? And so, and hold on, let me get here. Is Boscovich hurt? I don't think so. At least I hadn't heard. It's possible he was, and I assume, yeah, because I assume they would have played him. I feel like it could have helped having the extra big out there to stretch the floor and to kind of frustrate their bigs. But it could have been a scheme thing, and it could have been by design. But if he is hurt or there's just any question, I'm glad they're able to rest him, and hopefully he can make it back for the game against Wisconsin, which we'll get to that in a second. Chris Stevenson says, Demon stepped up huge. My player of the game. Demon did have a huge game, and he looked very confident out there after that very first possession, which was like the worst case scenario we all saw coming. He got out there and he had a game, and he played with confidence. And I think he's definitely helping his draft stock with moments like that. Again, not everybody's going to expect him to do all the things at the pro level that he's having to do here, but man, when just going well. First of all, like the way he shot the three just with confidence, and he was, I mean, at the end of the day, 3 of 7, which is about right for him. But I like the way he was shooting it. But when he was getting downhill, which is when I think he's at his best, is just because that he's going to find somebody with the pass, or that he can just get to the rim. And so I like that one where he fakes it. Actually, I might have even had it pulled up here. So yeah. Here, let me zoom in here. Jack Welch says, Yegor learned how to shoot threes. So from Happy Gilmore there. You know what? I don't think I opened it up, but I was looking up something, play from Demon. But yeah, when he had the fake, and then he went and laid it in. But a huge game from him. Like what I see, if he can keep shooting the three like that and keep playing with that level of confidence, I think that definitely raises BYU's ceiling in this tournament. Elijah Foster says, Hall is my player of the game. Ooh, helped to settle the tempo, hold the lead, and score critical points. Yeah, absolutely. And that's been Hall's role all season, hasn't it? Is be kind of the steady hand out there and get the game back under control. Maybe Yegor's ceiling is a little bit higher and brings a little bit different in terms of length, and rebounding and things. But yeah, so I love what Dallin does for the team and that element that he brings. But that's interesting because I was really thinking those bigs feasting down low were huge. But my opinion. But yeah, I want to see what you guys think. Everybody else, let me know in the chats who you think the player of the game was. And then also, actually, let's shift to, has this team now met your preseason expectations? Because I think by and large, now this isn't going to, not speaking for everybody, but by and large, people, the talk was, well, this team can be in the top half of a very good Big 12 team, which BYU did and exceeded. They tied for third place and got the 4 seed in the Big 12 tournament, which I think exceeded what most people really thought was the most likely scenario, especially once the season got going and we were looking like, hey, if we can just break even in conference, we'd be happy. Which now looking at it with how West Virginia got screwed, that BYU may not have even made it into the tournament, being 500 and being, the ninth or, best team or whatever in the conference. So, but then, so it was like end in the top half, make it to the tournament. If they can get to the Sweet 16, a lot of people thought this team had that kind of potential. So that's my question. Do they still have to get to Sweet 16 to be like, okay, this team has now achieved everything that we realistically hope they would? Or are you satisfied? Like, hey, we kind of broke the curse. We got that monkey off our back, and we're able to move forward beyond that, the first round, and continue in the tournament, get that win. And actually, I want to go to some of the comments here. We got 1-2. Welcome back, 1-2. He says, we won a March Madness game. Curse broken. Yes, absolutely. So is that enough for you, 1-2, to be happy with this team? Feel like they've achieved everything that they set out to prior to the season? Is that enough for you to say, hey, this team met expectations and we are happy with the season? Or do you need to see more? Does it need to be Sweet 16? Does it need to be an even deeper run for you? And you're saying Elite 8, or I'm disappointed given the amazing talent level. Okay, yeah, and certainly expectations have shifted. Was that what you were saying prior to the season? Because I was kind of like, get to the Sweet 16 and I'll be really happy. I'm already pretty happy. Like this team, the way they played in the season in that last stretch where they put that run together and the way they figured things out, I'm very happy. The way they were able to have some incredible wins and really come charging into the national stage, and are a team that, outside of that Houston game, just looks on fire and like somebody that nobody wants to face. However, with that, it also kind of shifted my expectations too. This first round win, no matter what, this feels so good. Like I'm just thinking about, I've been carrying around that Duquesne loss with me all year. So just to get that out of the way, and now we can move forward. No matter what happens going forward, I'll feel very good about this season. But I'm with you. I feel like this team has shown they have too much, and they've been able to put too much together and figure things out that I would like to see at least a Sweet 16 at this point. Going back, because I skipped over here, Elijah Foster says, I take it back. Foose with 23 assists per this stat page is my player of the game. Yeah, I think that's a typo. I got to find somewhere else. And if anyone else can look up stats somewhere else and let me know, I'll look somewhere else and see what they say. But that can't be right. 23 assists is just insane. But let's see here if I can get the stats to this. Oh man, I should have had another one pulled up here ahead of time. But anyway, but yeah, if it's 23 assists, then that's definitely I think player of the game worthy. But I think that's got to be a typo. So as I look this up, I'm gonna take some other comments here. Patricia Cad says, and I hope I'm saying that right, I am not a BYU fan, but yes, you guys should be satisfied. Very satisfying indeed. Thank you for being on here, even though you're not a BYU fan, and joining in. Let me know who's your team, and appreciate you joining us. Here we have Kay Newren says, Final Four, baby. Yeah. Hey, I will take it. If I do think this team has the talent, has the ability to make a deep run. But the thing is that all the other teams that BYU is going up against also have that ability. So I'm not saying like BYU should make the Final Four, but they definitely have the ability to do it. But seriously, Sweet 16 would be fantastic. Elite Eight, I think, would just be okay. That would be amazing. Anything on top of that, obviously, anytime you make the Final Four, it is just a stupendous season. Even though you don't win it all, just making the Final Four is huge. So that would be amazing. Love to see it. And let's actually talk about what that path looks like here as soon as I am able to get some stats up. And let me look at this real quick because we had Foose. Yeah, it was 2 assists. So ESPN had a typo there. Sorry, this is a bit small. Oops. So let's see here. Maybe that's a little bit easier for you to read. So yeah, just 2 assists. But what I like here, and I think is interesting that ESPN doesn't provide, is the minutes. And man, Mag got lots of play out there. So he also in consideration for player of the game because of what he did defensively. Didn't have quite as much of an offensive impact as he's had in some games, but I love, and yeah, Demon out there quite a bit, which isn't a surprise, but considering we were worried about him getting pressured and choking it up a lot. But Mag, I love which one of these tweets is it? But I should close out of these after I finish it. Oh, maybe I didn't. I closed out of it anyway. Some of these other ones I'll get back to. I love this one. Kebakeda has blocked you. Johnny Linhan, VCU probably. Yeah. How many blocks did he end up with in total? Was it 4 or 5? Yeah, 4 blocks. I mean, it just felt like he was all over the place, frustrating them. But in terms of Max or Mwat Mag, he was all over. What's his bucket here for VCU? Max. That's why I said Max. Shulga. If we look at his season stats, I mean, he was scoring 15 points. He's getting 4 assists, 6 rebounds. He's shooting 43%, and you look at him in this game, 12 points. So he got close, actually. Some of that was near the end because when I was looking there later in the second half, he still hadn't had that, and 3 assists. So, okay. So, I mean, he still had a pretty good game, but it felt like he was having to work for it because Mag was all draped all over him and shutting him down. But all right, here. Let's get to some of the comments. A Yale student. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. I often get asked if I'm a Yale fan because of my hat or gear or whatever, and it's got to be confusing because our Yale is also in Denver. Is that right? Let's see here. Yeah, it's also in Denver, so got to be a lot of confusion there between all the blue Ys. But yeah, thanks for joining the show. Okay, let's see. I went down, missed a few. So Elijah Foster says Wisconsin looked beatable. Yeah, and that's what I want to get to now. Thank you. Let's take a look at the bracket. And says 1-2 says note that Wisconsin is lower ranked defense than VCU. I think we have a legit shot at Sweet 16. I do as well. Let's see. 1-2 says Yale shocked Auburn last year, if I recall correctly. Those Ivy League schools, they often are causing some upsets there, and I love it. I'm here for it, and I would love to see Yale advance. Chris Stevenson says, I had a Duke fan talking tons of trash after BYU's loss to Providence, saying BYU won't do anything in the tourney. For his sake, I want the Sweet 16. Haha, but I'm happy with the win. Yeah, it always feels good to shut the naysayers down and, whatever. He can talk all the trash that he wants, and hopefully we'll have a chance to see BYU go and prove it against Duke. Now, the thing about Duke is they may not be at full health due to the Cooper Flagg's injury there, and we'll see if he's able to get back to full strength. But still, a very, very good team nonetheless. But I'm going to pull up to look at this, the bracket from, we did a show on Sunday after the bracket came out. We filled one out. We had you all on and helped us make picks all the way through. So it was some interesting picks here. Interesting, very Big 12 heavy. But coming to look at, I saw Yale, so I was looking over there. So coming to look at our region here with BYU, this is what I want to look at. Obviously, Wisconsin already beat Montana. Montana, it looked like they were getting close there for a little bit, but ultimately Wisconsin pulled away. And this is going to be a very interesting matchup, but one that I like. It's funny because BYU's gotten used to playing teams that can score, but tougher defenses. And this isn't what I wanted to do. Sorry about that. Where's our? Oh, that is the preview. I guess they don't have it pulled up yet. But I guess they don't do those anymore because picks are locked. Okay, so but yeah, Wisconsin. That's an interesting point that you're making, that they are worse rated defensively. Because BYU going up against good defensive teams, Kansas, Arizona, Iowa State, still found a way to score and have success. Granted, those teams were scoring on BYU too, and Wisconsin should be able to do that. So it'll be a very high scoring game. Should be very interesting there. This part of the bracket, Alabama's another one that can put up points. That would be another high flying game. You go against Wisconsin and then you have Alabama. The good thing is, you have the elevation, you have a little bit of a home court advantage, which one thing is, speaking of, is VCU had a pretty good crowd. I heard them. They were louder than I was expecting to be. I guess it's March. It's to be expected, but man, BYU, it did feel like a home court advantage. Not the Marriott Center kind of loud, but home court at many times, especially when Foose scored. And man, that gave me goosebumps. That's one of these tweets here from Jeremy Jordan. The Foose cheer is strong today. Yeah, it was so good. I love how loud he was. And then I'll get to that point in a second. And then I love this one from Joe Wheat, via the LDS guy. But Brigham Young says, if you have a bad thought about yourself, tell it to go to hell, because that is exactly where it came from. So, and that's me and my thought of BYU losing today. So let's keep that same energy going forward to the next game against Wisconsin. And then I just want to touch upon this one while we're talking about the tournament as a whole. John Kurtz says maybe we didn't need to give the SEC 14 bids with Texas out last night. And then let's see here. Who was it that just lost already? Well, we had, Georgia is getting beat. That's what he was responding to. Yeah, Georgia is getting beat down by Gonzaga, and it looks like that is going to hold. Okay, I wasn't sure if Georgia was going to make a run there. They were never able to. So, again, a win or loss does not alone indicate, I think, a team's worthiness to be in the tournament. But when you have a record number of schools in the tournament and the lower seeded teams thus far, and we'll see what the rest of them do, are losing, it does make you think, if these teams weren't able to crack 500, like I think Oklahoma in their own conference, why are they here? I'm sure they had a very impressive schedule, but after a certain point, it's like, there was that many teams ahead of you in your conference. You had your chance to prove it, bring in some of these other schools from other conferences and get more of a mix. We've already had the SEC get to play each other, bring in, and tons of SEC teams in this tournament, bring in some others, mix it up a little bit. And then you see UNC stealing one from the Big 12, and look what's happening to the ACC. You had Clemson out already, and Louisville out already. I don't know. The ACC looks like they're flaming out. They're basically, all their hopes is on Duke here. So, and we'll see again what happens there. I have some of a doubt, just because of seems to be a very top heavy year. And I think once you get to the Final Four and the championship game, even if Duke makes it that far, you're going up against other teams of equal caliber. And all of a sudden, Cooper Flagg, if his health isn't there, doesn't hold up or whatever, it's going to be a much tougher matchup. But yeah, Bama still got to get past Robert Morris. Stranger things have happened. And we'll see what happens in that next round. So, I mean, BYU still has, there's still a lot of basketball to be played before we start talking. And I mean, BYU still has to think about Wisconsin, but when you start thinking about that path, if things hold up, chalk, then we get very high flying game here, one against Alabama, and then what's most likely, going to be Duke on the other side. But also, I hate that we had three Big 12 teams in this region when we only have one in the others. I would have rather had another bracket with another region with just two Big 12 teams. But whatever, it is what it is. So let's get to some more of your comments here. I think I've kind of lost the board, but Isaac Harlan says this year they could get to the Final Four, next year championship. Yeah, I mean, that's what's crazy is that whatever they are able to do this year, you have to think next year with AJ DeBonsa, if they're able to bring back their core guys. Obviously, you lose Foose, but if you get, if you're bringing back Keita and you've got, I'm just thinking on Dallin Hall and all these guys you can surround around AJ DeBonsa. We'll see what other recruits they're able to get along with them, or another guy out of the transfer portal to fill the role of a mag. I mean, that's the thing. You need some defensive stoppers because you're losing, like I said, mag, and you lose Stewart. So I don't know, but yeah, whatever this team does this year, you have to think, okay, well, next year the ceiling's even higher than that. So that's huge. Elijah Foster says, we share the same why, Patricia. I understand how you ended up here. Yep, absolutely. And there's going to be lots of confusion from that there in Denver. 1-2 says BYU and Duke in Elite Eight is the showdown that DeBonsa willed into existence in his interview with Stephen A. That is true. That is so good. That would be very poetic. He says, why can't I play Duke? And I won't be surprised at all if we see that scheduled in the non-conference portion of the schedule next year. I think people want to see that. ESPN wants to see that, and think of the ratings. So awesome. Elijah says seedings don't reflect it, but Wisconsin finished AP number 13, Iowa State number 15, BYU 17. Yeah. So this is a very close game. Absolutely. And so it should be a good one. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched Wisconsin and I haven't gotten that far. I didn't allow myself to look past VCU. Now we can. I'm sure BYU's coaching staff has had certain people already scouting and pulling film or whatever, and the team will get on it right away. But yeah, by all accounts, it feels like the type of team that BYU should match up well against. Jason Ford, welcome to the show. He says, how good is Wisconsin? Oh, that's sorry, got ahead of myself here. How good is the Big 10 compared to Big 12? How do we match up against their 3 seed? That is a great question, one that I hope to get into a little bit more. Perhaps we'll do. Thing is, there's just not as much time to get a preview show in ahead of time, but I'm not completely convinced by the Big 10. I mean, obviously they're good, and I think they have the second most teams in the conference. Is that right? But we'll see how they do. Again, that's a good question. I don't watch a lot of them, but I think it will be a good game. Again, I think it'll be very different than VCU, but one that should be fairly evenly matched, and one that once things go flying, I like BYU's chances in those games. Patricia says, let's go Yale. Well, yeah, I'm rooting for Yale, especially because you're on the other side of the bracket. So go for it. Bust some brackets. I love it. 1-2 says West Virginia was robbed. Yeah, they definitely were robbed. It's ridiculous. I don't want to get in the whole UNC thing, but you can't tell me, he walked out of the room, the chair there, and they still didn't have any influence or whatever on putting UNC in. It's just a joke, and I want to see them flame out. And who are they going up against? Ole Miss. So Team BYU played earlier in the season. So yeah, I do not want to see UNC advance. Like if they start making a deep run like NC State last year, I'm going to be annoyed because then they're going to feel vindicated that they got put in, but that doesn't mean it's right, because again, you have to look at the full season. Just like BYU is a 6 seed, even though, like we were just saying, they're number 17. And granted, there's lots of metrics that go into it, but that's just it. BYU didn't start out the year great. They didn't play a lot of tough competition. They struggled against some bad teams, and the whole year has to come into account. And the UNC barely made it. And yeah, they look good late, but what about the rest of the season against a very, very down ACC conference? So I am just, yeah, it's too bad. It affects the Big 12. It seems that the media and the networks and everything have completely gotten on the hype train for the SEC, and not just football, but now basketball, which maybe they don't like the idea of Yormark trying to split off basketball, and they're trying to slow that down a little bit because they don't want to have to, if Yormark does it, it's because he thinks he can make more money. They don't want to have to pay more money. And I'm not saying it's one big, huge conspiracy against the Big 12, but certainly the SEC has a lot of influence, and people are listening to that. And I don't think that's necessarily what this UNC pick was about, but I'm talking more about just the SEC getting so many picks in the conference in the first place, or in the tournament in the first place. So it is what it is, but I think after a certain point, when, if you're down far enough in your own conference, and at some point there should be a cutoff. We don't need to get an entire conference into this tournament. This tournament isn't about who's hottest right now or whatever. The whole season should matter, and everything should play into it. So 1-2 says Texas and Georgia already out, and they got in over West Virginia. Yeah, it's crazy that Georgia. Well, I don't know much about Georgia basketball this year, but as a 9 seed, whatever. But Texas on the bubble, and they had to play in and didn't even get out of that game. But you have to think, okay, Texas got in on the bubble over a team like West Virginia, who was squarely in. I think basically all the bracketologists had West Virginia not even on the bubble, just in, and UNC was on the outside of the bubble, and somehow they got bumped out for UNC is just frustrating. So anyway, but about BYU, great win. It was a great team effort. Love to see them continue to find different ways to win, to push the ball. And, that first half, like we said, it was slower. It was a little bit muckier. And yet BYU was still up 11. And you got to that second half, and they just found a way to get over that defense and keep pushing it. And then when they needed to, Foose was there to go down low and make them uncomfortable. And, he was generating, two or double or triple teams at times, and still able to get decent looks under the hoop and get fouled. One thing when looking at the stats here, I'm going to pull this back up because I did want to pivot back to the game here, is you look at this, and now some of these changed at the end, but they had 63 shots compared to our 54. Now, some of those are because it was fouls. And so the shots, those don't count as shots when you get fouled on the shot, and you can see the foul disparity. So I think that's what makes up most of that, because BYU is definitely using the aggression from VCU against them, getting those fouls and getting to the line. And that was a big help because, as you can see, they were shooting at a pretty good clip. A team not known for shooting the three. Not only did they hit a good percentage, but they were shooting a ton of them. And so I think BYU is probably content with letting them live and die by the three, but I don't think anyone was expecting them to hit that well. But yeah, it was these free throws, which really, look at that disparity there, which really helped BYU, again, taking advantage of that really aggressive defense and being able to get to the line, and fortunately being able to capitalize on it. 68% isn't fantastic, but it's something. It's better than some of the games I think BYU had. So something to still clean up, I think, for the team, especially if you want to go much deeper in the tournament. So let's see here. Elijah says 111 out of 111 bracketologists had West Virginia in. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought they were squarely in, and 36 had UNC. Yeah, thanks for that stat. I know I had read that somewhere. I just couldn't remember the exact numbers, but yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke. And, we've gotten kind of used to it with football, but this is a little bit new, I think, for Big 12, and didn't expect it, especially as the conference got even stronger. You'd think with adding Arizona, to the conference and yet somehow we ended up farther behind. And Texas I want to see OU lose as well in this first round, and just after they leave the Big 12 and they both get in as the bottom of the Big 12, it's just a joke. Patricia says Georgia needs to stick to football. Yeah, I mean, they would have been happy with that score in football, I think. What was the final there? But yeah, I'm okay. I'm rooting against, even if it kills my bracket. Of course, I don't have any money on it, but I am rooting against all SEC and Big Ten schools and ACC too, even though they're kind of down right now anyway. But just love to see that, because that used to be like a primo conference, but in basketball. But let's see here. Unfortunately, the only two that are left from them are Duke and UNC, so that's not cool. Okay. Oh man, speaking of ACC, Clemson came back on McNeese and made that a game. I got nervous there, but I couldn't turn away because at the same time VCU was kind of making a run against BYU. I just looked. VCU outscored BYU by 2 in the second half. But yeah, what was it? 68? Yeah, I mean, hey, it looks like. I mean, still better than what they'd score in football, but they've had games up in that neighborhood. So, yeah, glad to see SEC struggle early. I thought Purdue looked like High Point was going to have kind of a miracle game, but Purdue did enough. So, oh well. Hopefully the rest of the night, what do we need to happen, folks? What do we need to happen the rest of the games tonight? So we have Kansas, I would not be surprised if they're an early out, but obviously want to see them win, going up against Calipari's Arkansas. I'm sure all the storylines there with the coaching. And then here, I'll pull this up for everybody. What other games we have and how are we rooting on them? I'll tell you how I'm rooting. I assume most of us will be similar on this, but and then our Yale, we got to root for Yale now. I mean, we've got the similar logos, and we've got our friend Patricia here joining us. So we'll root for Yale over SEC team. And then Drake, I always love the mid-majors coming in. Oh, is anyone going to root for Utah State? I'm sorry, I got to root for Utah State over a Big Ten team, which still feels weird. LA schools in the Big Ten, but I don't hate Utah State. I'm okay if people want to root against them as our rival, but I'll root for them to have the upset there. I've got no issues with the Big East, but always fun to see upset. So I'd always root for the little guy, but I think St. John's is probably going to pull that one out. And I grew up a U of M fan, not far from Ann Arbor. I still wouldn't mind seeing the Big Ten lose a first round game and see, one of these little guys pull an upset. So Texas Tech, sorry, I hate rooting against, a school like UNC Wilmington, but got to go for the Big 12. I think Texas Tech, outside of the 1 and 2 seeds, is one of the teams maybe as well suited as just about anybody to make a deeper run. So I'd like to see Tech get through there safely. So that's how I'm going for the rest of the night. Let's see. 1-2 says BYU underperformed. So, sorry, I missed this at 3 point. So there is upside for us against Wisconsin if we just get back to average. Yeah, it's true. Like the law of averages, BYU's not going to shoot that poorly from 3 for that long. And so, especially against what statistically and not as good of a defensive team. But yeah, eventually those threes are going to start falling again too. And part of it is BYU's. I mean, they didn't take as many as normal. How many did they shoot? I mean, 28. Oh no, that's free. 28 3-point shots, only 7 made. Yeah, not a lot for BYU, but I think they'll get it back. A lot of those were good looks, some of them not, but man, and if Demon can keep shooting the way he was shooting, again, it was only 3 out of 7, but with that kind of confidence, I mean, he can get his 3 really falling. I really think that raises the ceiling for BYU's potential. Patricia says, I wish we were in the same side of the bracket for a Yale and BYU Elite 8. That would be very fun in terms of logos, but no, I want to see I want to be able to root for all the mid majors to make it far. And I'm sorry, but I'd have to root for BYU over your Yale. And 1-2 says your picks are all the same as my picks. LOL. Yeah, for the record, that's not what it says on my bracket, but it is that is how I'll be rooting for the rest of the night. Let's see, my bracket. Actually, my personal bracket is in the 97.9 percentile here right now. Right now, it's still early. I'm not getting any illusion, and I do have Florida winning it all. I know that kind of became the trendy pick. I don't I don't know. I feel like it's very top heavy. I want Houston to win it all. That's who I'm pulling for, but I didn't want to jinx them. So I've got Florida winning it all. But yeah, right now I'm doing pretty well. The one we filled out on the show with you all, not quite as good, but still up there. It's still got the little fire emoji. I've added Jimmers in here. Jimmer's doing all right. This is what I want to happen. So still not bad. Phil just went out with so I could just enjoy and root for who I wanted the whole time. And then I got my kids. They all have their brackets. And then I did the trapezoid of excellence, which is not doing so well. I just had whoever was better suited according to the trapezoid of excellence, which I should pull that up here for anyone who doesn't know what it is. Give me a second. But it is not doing well. So it turns out that stat is not everything. So, which is all right. But I always think it's fun to kind of look at that and compare and see how those do. So let's see here. I'll pull this over. So for anyone not familiar with the trapezoid of excellence, this is it. And basically you've got your pace on one axis, and then your net rating on the other. So it's adjusted for opponent as well. And this is the trapezoid. Not so many teams in there this year, but BYU sitting right here, kind of with Auburn, UNC, Michigan State right below that trapezoid. So so I filled out the bracket, and based on who was kind of positioned better on this chart, and it is not doing well. So shows that that's not everything. So let's see. Daniel Clark says, I hate to say it, but the team did not look that good. Shots not falling, passes not crisp, slow start again, and very few fast breaks. Wisconsin will be tough. So you're right. And I actually think that's good news that BYU could look that bad. And I don't think they look terrible. They've had worse starts, but that they could look that out of sort and still win the way they did. Now, they weren't able to close out as strong, but I think they're just statistically, they won't continue to shoot as poorly from three. And it's just going to be a completely different matchup again. And they still have altitude with Wisconsin. Maybe that helps on a fast paced game and running with that team. And Wisconsin wants to run, and I like BYU's chances in that. So, I mean, you make a good point. They did start out slow again, and but Wisconsin, I think, wants to push the pace. I don't have the stats in front of me at the moment. Not sure what they are in terms of, statistically. I'm not going to look for it right now, but and if they're pushing the pace as well, I like what BYU would be able to do in that matchup. But yeah, you can't start slow, and they've got to figure things out, and they got to hit threes, and they got to settle down. And I guess that's what I liked about Yegor, is that he came out with confidence, and he didn't look too rattled, even though that first possession was our worst case scenario. After that, he looked really settled into the game, and I think that is a huge plus for us. And the second half, there were a lot more fast break points against a team that was doing their darndest to slow BYU down. I even saw a tweet, and I didn't notice it, but I guess the coaching staff was even calling for a delay of game warning against VCU because their players kept hitting the ball away to kind of slow down BYU on the, after they would score, they kind of hit the ball away and slowing BYU's ability to push and getting down the floor on the way down. So, I mean, that was a team that was really looking to do anything they could to slow BYU down. And did a good job with it. So I hear you, Daniel, and I'm with you. Your points are right. I just think I think there's good things we can take from this performance. Say, hey, they're only going to be able to build on this, and it's going to be a completely different matchup. So, but yeah, you can't start slow against very good teams, and everyone from this point on, and including VCU, are all very good teams. So, BYU's got to figure that out. 1-2 says, I got Houston to win it all. That's who I'm realistically cheering for to win it all. And I just, I had him going far last year, and I feel like I jinxed him. So I might have had him winning it all last year. And I think I have Houston beating Duke in the Final Four and going on to lose to Florida in the championship. I think it's what I had. But I do think, Texas Tech, Iowa State, I think they've got a chance to make deep runs too, represent the Big 12. That's really what I want to see outside of BYU, obviously. Patricia says, I have Florida beating BYU in the title. Hey, I love it. I'm glad you had BYU going that far. You showed more confidence in the Cougars than I did. But again, I was afraid to jinx them. But I appreciate the support. I really hope I have Yale winning that first matchup, which I know I at least considered. So hopefully that's the case. 1-2 says, Houston's defense is scary. I truly thought they had 6 guys on the court when we played them last. Yeah, I wasn't able to catch that game live, but I caught some of it. But yeah, they're really good. They're really, really good. And we know that they can put up points too, but they are just defensive hounds. So I really think Houston can win it all, and I would love it. I would love that for the Big 12. And I really hope they do. But anyway, this has been a lot of fun. I think is about time. What a great game. Again, the curse is broken. We can all breathe a sigh of relief that no matter whatever else happens for the rest of this tournament, that BYU has gotten to the second round and had an amazing season. And we will be back here on Saturday. Do we have no, it says TBD, at least right now. I don't know what time, but we'll be back Saturday after the game. If it's during the day, it may not be immediately after, but it will be after at some point, so that we can go on and discuss it and chat and everything. So be sure to like the channel or this video, but also subscribe to the channel is what I want to say, so you can come back and catch that. And hopefully we're talking about another victory and BYU punching their ticket to the Sweet 16. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Go Cougs.